The best betrayals are the ones that you never see coming. You see, if you're perceived as naive, you're going to have some real difficult times. And the worst part of being sabotaged, betrayed, and smeared by the people you love the most is that they will have organized a smear campaign long in advance, that they're going to work on your mental health. They're going to talk to your team behind your back. They're going to be undermining you to everyone else but you. And so when they orchestrate their betrayal, their image will be aligned with a concerned family member, a good friend, a potential business partner that was just looking out for you when they were calling your girlfriend or your friends or family to ask if you might have diabetes, to explain your erratic, irrational behavior. That's really the result of a year-long psychological campaign to undermine your mental health. You see, one of the things that I discovered about myself in the aftermath of everything I've been through was that I had some kind of neurodivergence, like autism or attention deficit. It's why as a kid they thought I had a learning disability. It wasn't me with the disability, it was everyone else. That there's lots of people like me out here who get destroyed in this world. And the reason for it is that we have what's called objectivity. Objectivity comes from the creative minds of very few people. They may look like they have attention problems, but it's not that. It's that their mind works so fast and they think only visually. Let me say that again. Most people listening to this will analyze everything I say. That rather than hearing me talk, you listen to your own thoughts form and overlap and override my words before you could even process them and have any empathy whatsoever. You see, the people that can't relate to me can't relate because the words coming out of my mouth do not illustrate anything. See, illustrating would be visualizing. You cannot understand anybody by putting yourself in their shoes because they're not you. And you'd be making presumptions about their emotions, and you would be grossly miscalculating their experience, even making it wrong because it doesn't correlate to what you think. And so most people, 99.9%, have a purely subjective reality that is all based on opinion, dogmatic attachments to somebody else's knowledge that they have attached themselves to. Because the ego is the compensatory way in which people attempt to fix change themselves by asserting an identity and attempting to maintain it long enough so that the yellow brick road fantasy to a future of someday where they're healed, they're loved, they're successful, they're happy, they've proven themselves, is the only way that they relate to the world outside. That is it. And you only show up in their world within the boundaries of those particular parameters, that they can only look at you as a utility or relate to you through the way in which they engage reality. So when you talk objectively, when you see everything around you, you will have such profound emotional problems because when you talk, people will automatically disagree and negate you. They don't have the ability to form thoughts from nothing. They don't have the ability to create understandings. They don't understand how you just know everything by looking at it. That when the teachers talk, you visualize everything so rapidly that you're already on to something else. Everyone else listens, where the cadence of a voice in their mind operates within the boundaries of a voice. Within a brain that processes reality so fast, you could put somebody in a fighter jet or a Formula One car. And so for minds that already have the ability to visualize, The imagination is an overlay to everything else, and it causes the rapid development of understanding by thinking not in an audible voice, but in a vast visual expanse where epiphanies become the only way in which you learn. That I learn by looking at things only. That I take a whole car apart, and then that's how I learn it. I look at a supercharger, and my mind sees everything. The air molecules, the physics. It just imagines how they work. And it does it without my voluntary effort. And having a mind that does that in a world of negation is hell for people like me. Because you get triggered all the time. You get told you're arrogant, a know-it-all. You're not qualified for that. You don't have that education. You shouldn't know this. You shouldn't know that. That shop knows more because that person said this and that person said that. And so I live in a world where there's probably 5 or 6 psychologists that are responsible for all the knowledge in the books, yet everybody will tell you that you're wrong and they're right. And they attach to knowledge years ago to the point where they would need a desk reference as a refresher, where you learn things so that you could get a good grade. No curiosity, no inherent passion, that your education in every moment of your life is an ego-driven pursuit of more, the very basis of all suffering, the very basis of war, the very basis of discrimination, the very basis of why human beings have less humanity than the average dog. That we can't even agree that the arbitrary protein in a skin has nothing to do with the consciousness. That we can't even humanize somebody based on gender. That our biggest social issues have to do with our entitlements to greed, our unwillingness to humanize somebody based on the clothing they wear, our inability to even relate to and connect to the experiences of anyone else and validate them. Well, all it takes is putting the name of a country in front of a child and it's collateral damage. And we can't see the futility of the same rhetorical fights and arguments that have been dominating humanity since we picked up the first stone and threw it at the other person. That the inhumanity is ego. The inhumanity is your entitlement to be right, your entitlement to negate and judge. That you would look at somebody within the arbitrary structure of this nonsensical economic system of total enslavement and judge them. And turn your back on a friend because somebody on Facebook that doesn't know them said something bad. Where you would have to evaluate the social consequences of courage when somebody comes to bludgeon or smear someone that you used to care about, and you evaluate their worthiness based on what they did for you lately in your crusade to validate yourself just to prove to your daddy and mommy that you're good enough. And that's it. Nothing but an are we there yet sycophant. And I get to live in a world where everybody tells me I'm wrong. And they don't even have an inkling of integrity when it comes to evaluating a single thing that I've shared. That all I get is judgment, ridicule, shaming, smearing. Where I could be said to be a scam artist because the first person that had to wait to get a turbo kit couldn't handle one more delay during a period of time where my mind is being ravaged because, oh, my girlfriend has 10 boyfriends. The person I trusted is suing me. My whole team jumped ship and I'm holding the bag again. And there's 10 turbo kits there and somehow having spent on 20 of them so far and never have given up, that my unwillingness to quit makes me a scam. Yeah, like I wanted to scam GTO owners by investing in fucking billet and aerospace grade engineering. And now I'm sitting on 7 hot sides because I've been stigmatized by people that don't know me and just waited to hate me. That with all the examples of everything I've ever done in my life, they're just waiting for some mistake to then project whatever it is that makes them hate you arbitrarily. And I've been getting that from every direction my whole life. And all I'm left with is the cowardice of everybody that I've ever known, everybody I've ever stood for in a world of transactional reciprocation. And they got to evaluate you socially before they can authenticate who you are or move on because they got a faster car now and whatever the fuck. It is crazy out here. Nobody will ever know what it's like to be someone like me or what it is that I actually know. That I've had to dumb myself down, that I've had to avoid having people think that I'm arrogant, having people think that I'm conceited. Because all I get is unqualified, all I get is this, all I get is that. Because people cannot relate to objectivity. People can't understand that when I see you have already invented a future of your greatness, that I would do anything to blaze a trail to whatever dreams that you have. Because my dreams has always been the dreams of others. That when I look at something, I think about the person that's going to get it. That I see everything, every detail. I see it all, ground up, from the smallest thing to the biggest. That I don't just learn the bare minimum to be good enough and find myself a cubicle in a comfort zone. And I don't even consider it risk-taking because it's just what occurs to me. That's all. And so I go in the direction of what makes sense. But then I'm dealing with people with no integrity. I'm dealing with people with no courage. I'm dealing with people with such severe inferiority that being handed a supercharger design and bypassing a $500,000 buy-in and everything paid for in advance was too much. And they had to sue you just to cover up their own inferiority that came along with 6 or 7 CAD files and blueprints that they promised to make for you. And so while I'm being sued on one end, and I'm pushing myself to the limit, trying to figure out why everybody around me has no integrity, thinking that I needed to instill the vision in them, that they had to see the implications of this, that you didn't see PRI sharing our work. You didn't know that the core was going to end up in the show. You didn't see what I saw. And if you did, then where are your balls? And why am I the one holding the bag? Why is it that everyone can come to me and call me a scam artist, yet nobody has compassion when I've got the receipts for the scams that I've been through? Nobody cares because it would refuse their entitlement to be a victim. And so while they'll say it's your fault for trusting someone, they don't look in the mirror for trusting me. And then what are we talking about? I could have a whole community of car people say I'm a scam artist. Say that I changed business names because of that. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? I had a hole in the wall and I made an LLC and I had one guy who bought a turbo kit. And then I got that to him. And then when I got behind, when I had in-house fabricators, I worked on my back to get all of them out. And then when I had 10 of them sitting on a pallet and I had one person that purchased a pre-production one, I was comfortable to sell a few more. And then that one guy goes onto Facebook, and though everyone has seen 10 of these kits, all the production, people I don't even know are saying I'm a scam artist. They caused a $50,000 hit on a Friday. Chargebacks. I couldn't even sell them because my account was overdrafted, and I didn't sell them because I didn't want somebody to pay, and it just covered the zero. It may zero my account out. And nobody gives me any flexibility. Nobody gives a fuck because they want to be entitled to be a goddamn victim and they give you nothing but bullshit. And so that's all that I got. I'm here back at my mom's house. I'm sitting on 7 hot side kits that are ready to ship, stigmatized as some kind of scam artist. And I've got a CNC guy that actively calls my engineers with my intellectual property that I paid for, that I designed, and he's trying to steal it. And he's celebrating suing a guy that gave him everything, that was putting him in his business, that walked an opportunity in there. No buy-in. I'm making the articles. I'm getting us to the PRI show. These are my ideas, my engineers. I paid for everything. And I get to fork out $100,000 to get smeared that I worked for. And now, because everybody comes after me and steals, because I put people on the payroll that don't perform, And I'm being pulled apart in every direction. I'm getting gaslit here, gaslit there. My own family comes after me. And so I just become everybody's fucking whipping boy, an oddball, a different species. Something's up with him. There's just something not right about him. Yes, there is something different about me. It's hard to relate to somebody that doesn't have an ego, that doesn't give a fuck about public image, that cares about reality and results, that isn't going to be here studying global warming for 20 years when I could engineer it to go away. That I'm about reality in a world of thumb-sucking victims that want to displace the responsibility and be a victim. And so nobody wants anything to do with the smoke of truth. They don't want the smoke of truth. They want the convenience of indifference, of being not sure, of two sides to every story, of just come back when the pizza's hot again. So the friends will disappear until it's socially safe for them to emerge from the comfort zone of cowardice. And so everybody's an entitled Yelp review connoisseur because it's tax season. It has no value or respect for anything that you bring into existence unless they could look at how they can profiteer off of your back. And it's all backwards. All of these money-hungry, greedy cowards with no skills, analytical thinking, black and white, planned obsolescence will fist fuck this world until it's a crater. And they'll nail anybody to the cross that bothers telling the truth. That's it. In a world of snakes and liars, in a world of cowardly, obese, type 2 Americans that will sit here and say, support the troops as we honky stomp countries to raise our own oil prices, and ignorant people vote against minimum wage because they're too stupid to understand anything about our economic system. Still demonizing people based on nationality. Can't understand the futility of the ignorance of having people with the same amount of chromosomes be the enemy. Having transcended from the animal kingdom, commanding animals like Shamu to do circus tricks. The best we could do is hardwire the world for self-annihilation and vote on which narcissist or sociopath is going to be the best father figure, the best father figure. He makes me feel safe. Makes you feel safe to give a con man nuclear launch codes? Well, that's the problem for people like me, is it's very, very hard because you make these plans and then you're going to get pulled apart by scams, by piece of shit people with no creativity that just want to steal from you, that have envy. And it has nothing to do with you being great or better because you don't even think that way. Don't even think that way. And so their envy that they blame you for is there already. And if you don't see them because you put yourself in their shoes like I was doing, you won't realize that these are not friends. These are not even humans. That they have no compassion, no empathy, no concern at all. And they would just let you get destroyed and just be so sad. Oh gosh. Yeah, he was really nice sometimes. He said some smart stuff sometimes, but I heard that he was a scam artist and that guy with the Corvette and and that's it. And you think any of this is going to matter when they're putting you in a box and lowering you? No, it will not matter. That's why everyone's so sad at funerals, is because their head is so far up their ass and they're so entitled to judge. They're so preoccupied with fixing and changing themselves. They're so busy running on a treadmill, chasing the carrot of the nothingness of more. Are we there yet? Buy it now, fix yourself, perpetual casino slave ship of an economic system based on limitless amounts of debt where our governments are that irresponsible, where they'll fist fuck the planet, enslave everybody in debt, tax you to oblivion, have people falling off this treadmill into homelessness, and now it's an inconvenience you want to sweep under the rug. And there you are, sucking your thumbs, watching news networks, just to try to figure out what's going on in your world. And nobody goes, do you know there's probably more options than 1 and 2? That it isn't either this or either that. Maybe it's not this religion or that religion. Maybe there's something a little more than left versus right, north versus south, us versus them, man versus woman. That maybe, just maybe, needing to individualize yourself, individuate, become special, try to become more, everybody needs to be good enough. Sliding goalposts, you don't know what is good, what is bad, how much is a good grade, what is a good amount of money. It just keeps changing. And you're just too stupid to even recognize it. And then people come around to try to make differences for you. And what do? You're greedy. You take. And then that's it. And there's nothing left. Oh, then he's a scam. Yeah. And then you never get any validation for what it is you're experiencing, because people don't want the smoke of the implications of what real friendships and family people would do for one another when somebody's trying to fist fuck somebody that loves them. That the brother that would show up and beat the shit out of somebody in a locker room in front of a head coach is also the same brother you would sabotage and smear and ruin 2 of my businesses. Like a coward, because you couldn't measure up to whatever fantasy images in your mind you created of me. Like I'm some golden child living at home with my mother. Okay. Yeah. And people are connoisseur Karens, the talentless majority that can't even explain a cigarette lighter, is walking around like their opinions have more weight and value than the very people, a human being, that they'll criticize and entitle themselves to not just witness suffer, but to help it, to will you to failure, just to be right, and get some sadistic satisfaction out of that in a world where they're too cowardly even generate an idea from nothing. They can critique everything that comes out of your mind with no effort, and all the effort that you have is locating somebody with a backbone, somebody with a little integrity to just do what the fuck they said they would do. And all these weak links in your chain bury you as everybody comes around to just gawk at your suffering for no fucking reason other than the same nonsensical bullshit that causes a traffic jam as you gawk at other people. Well, I'm the one that pulls over to help someone. And you're the one that walks by a conflict in a parking lot like a fucking coward because you're a people-pleasing nothing. A sycophantic validation seeker that doesn't even know that love is not an emotional feeling you get when your mommy-like abandonment wound is activated or turned off. And that's all you are. A rhetorical Ray Bradbury story of self-validation, trying to build your little Tower of Babel to finally be good enough to gain the unanimous approval of everybody that judges you on a daily basis. And that's what you want, and that's the only thing you want. That you don't want the responsibility of knowledge. You don't want the responsibility of understanding. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a damn flat earth mentality. You wouldn't be locked in on what you think you know when you're not the author of a goddamn thought that you've ever formed before in your life, because you're living within the shackles of already existent 5-year-old emotions of abandonment, being inadequate, broken, stuck, and confused. That's it. And all you're trying to do is fix the same thing over and over and over, and running on a treadmill to do it. And then anybody off that treadmill looks abnormal to you. Somebody that isn't doing that is crazy or a problem, or makes you feel insecure, or makes you feel angry, just makes you attack like some kind of fucking animal. This is like, for me, Twilight Zone, it's like a Ray Bradbury horror movie for me, It's like being an alien that showed up amongst all these biological robots, narcissistic, entitled, thumb-sucking victims that want nothing more than to whine, bitch, and complain to project their misery onto someone else in a world where they could saturate every neurotransmitter and every taste bud, every moment of their life, and are trained that that's the only reason they exist. It's to never be hungry, always be satisfied, always be pleased, get their endless needs met by corporations, governments, and the opposite gender, and then seek the validation and approval of everybody by taking everything that you've ever owned and transforming it into whatever character you want to masquerade around as. And all those characters that you're playing in your life were created in a fucking think tank. And there you are, regurgitating what you saw in the news, wearing what you saw in a magazine, and saying the things you saw on Facebook without an original idea. And therefore, when somebody original and authentic comes around, your head spins like a fucking top, and you try to stomp them out before their spark can turn into a little more than a fire. And so that's all you are, a coward. The vast majority, cowards. Can't look in the mirror, so you look at someone else. Hiding out online, waiting for the opportunity to pounce. With all the social agreement that comes along with group thinking and hatred, you found yourself justified to the maximum. And boy, oh boy, it's like piranhas coming for you. You get one coward open their mouth, and then the rest of them feel like it's time. And that's all they have to say. Oh, I knew it about him. And they don't know a goddamn thing, and they don't even have the integrity to know. Because they don't care. Because knowing things would forfeit your entitled victimhood. And so it's easy for you to avoid. It's easy for you to, I don't really need to know that. I don't want to know that. You don't want to know anything. No, because that might require compassion. That might actually have you experience the shame and the guilt of turning a blind eye to everything around you. Because you don't want the smoke of being the guy. You don't want to be the one. You don't want to be the hero. You don't want to be the second coming. You just want to be a sheep amongst the wolves. You just want to, bah, and that's it. A thumb-sucking crybaby with 99% of your cerebral cortex begging you to pay attention to a little more than your greedy, narcissistic, selfish desires and the voice in your head, the architect of your own subjective hell. And that's all you want to do is bring them down with you. Well, I'm sorry that your life sucks that way. I'm sorry that you don't have the ability to humanize anybody. I'm sorry that you don't rejoice with every breath you take. I'm sorry that of all the meaning that you could have made up and found within this beautifully orchestrated gift called life, that whatever it is that you think you are now is the best that your level of fortitude and courage affords you. And I'm sorry that I don't fit in with that. Yes, I am different, I guess. Yes, I could see now why you would hate me so much. It's not me that you hate. It's what you see when your reflection is revealed in me.